Continuing on the Ashlands, maybe. Continuing on the Ashlands. You're about to ping blah 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 people. Yes.
Ping?
I think the audio levels are fucked.
They're static again, Vigge.
Oh no.
Oh wait, no. I'm watching the video from yesterday.
Oh.
Oh, now we're on here. Okay. No, there's no constant static like yesterday.
But it's because I added a fucking noise gate.
Alright, send out a tweet about this because that's what you're supposed to do. Also, because I don't know if people on Twitter are aware of our Twitch channel. I made another tweet this morning. I also put it in as a pinned tweet with just like some links to our Discord and shit. Because we had a link to our website, but there wasn't like a clear link to other stuff.
Yep. So today I'm thinking about just working on the roads.
Nice.
Hello, Mac.
Oh, the stream's already started. Cool.
Yes.
Well, be careful what I fucking say then, I guess.
Hello. So the roads in the Ashlands are super easy. Since the Ashlands is like 90% ash, I can just bury almost all the roads.
And 10% land.
Yeah. Let's see. Hello. We're doing some really funny roads today. 5 should be enough. Someone dumped a lot of red paint. Yeah, that's that's just marking like where the road could go. But I'm probably gonna build the road exactly how it's drawn on the map. Which Fallout is this for? It's for Fallout Cascadia. Or
Well, for Fallout 4.
Yeah.
We are a total replacement mod for Fallout 4 that will be a new game on top of the old one, using a lot of the same assets and the same engine. But it will not be connected to Fallout 4 or the Commonwealth in any way other than that. So there you go.
let's see. Should be let's just make a quick or big pallet if there isn't one already. I'll be right back, I got to go to the kitchen.
Yeah, it's right next to his desk.
So let's see if there is any... Oh, Ashlands.
good writers. I would say as the co-lead writer, I think our writing team is good. But yeah, please. We've said a lot about the frontier.
Yeah, we've given our kind of our take on the frontier before, so we're not going to keep repeating it.
Synth assets be used in terms of institute assets. There may be a case or two where like we use a institute laser rifle as like a unique weapon or something like that.
They will not be used as synths.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, we're not going to have any Gen 1-2 synths. Mostly just because our game isn't really about that as much, and it's part of like trying to make sure that our game feels as separate from Fallout 4 as possible. Not like for mostly just because we want it to feel like a game and not like a mod. In the interest of doing that, we're not going to like have a ton of asset reuse of those like very specific assets from Fallout 4. What does Cascadia's flag look like? Do we have like a screenshot of the ROC flag at the moment?
Vigge can pull it out.
Oh my god, wait a minute. What is the material swap called?
Probably ROC
flag.
flag or something.
Yeah.
I think it's flag ROC. Apparently not.
Well, the search system is weird, so.
Maybe it's like a material swap for this one. Nope.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Is there any mention of
There's
sense?
another flag.
Hmm.
There's another flag that has it.
Not at the
I don't know which
moment.
one it
There's not
is.
really any reference to sense, mostly because it's 50 years after Fallout 4 on the other side of the country. So it'd be kind of, it would take people out of the game more to say anything about them than to say nothing about them. What kind of Fallout game are you taking the biggest cues from, and as far as general mood and themes go? It depends, because in terms of like, for example, world design, I think a lot of it you could most accurately reference like Far Harbor, kind of, in terms of that like sort of lush forested environment with like a lot of like rain and fog. I mean, obviously New Vegas is an inspiration. Pretty much like in general, like we're taking a lot of different ideas from a lot of different Fallout games, as well as using our own ideas. So it's not like just like we're not just trying to make like New Vegas too, because we're not Obsidian,
Yeah, there it is.
and
Yeah, there
we
you
didn't
go.
make New Vegas in the first place. So why would we make New Vegas too? Yes, there is the ROC flagger.
You have it highlighted, Vigge. Unhighlighted.
Oh,
There.
need to change the weather to clear. Yes.
No, that's not the weather we're using.
No, but it's the weather that's easiest to landscape in.
Kind of like the
It's not that
the
great.
nature of the city, how it's like pretty much a walled off kind of a fortress, if you will, that offers like maximum security.
Yeah.
And it's often called like the jewel of the Pacific Coast, I think, is what something like
Well,
that.
it's just
So,
Seattle is the
Emerald.
Emerald City,
yeah,
like
the Emerald
in real
City,
life.
yeah.
So
The
that's where
Emerald
that's
makes
sort
a
of
lot of
from.
sense, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've given what we think of the frontier before, and addressed the concerns with it.
Yes.
It has not impacted development in any way. That would be kind of a weird thing if that impacted our development. No, we're totally disconnected from that project, and most other projects, except for like we work really closely with Fallout Miami, and the Capital Wasteland project. So, no, we've given our take on that before, and we won't keep repeating it because it's kind of not really something we want to keep talking about. Yeah, it's not something we really want to put out there. I mean, we've like mentioned it on the Discord. You can probably scroll up in our Discord server somewhere in the lounge or questions and answers, and we've said some things. I think I have a pinned message too on our Discord. I think it's pinned under questions and answers on our community server.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I posted a little short thing. That's pretty much our stance. Like, it's like we're more concerned about us as a project rather than kind of judging another project for what they've done. Really not interested in that.
How did we get into Cascadia? Well, in my case, it was the project had been ongoing for a little bit, and I applied for a writing position, and I eventually got in.
I made some mods on the Nexus in, I think it was the summer of 2016. I made like some power armors, and then I got picked up on the Nexus by a very small project that is no longer in existence. And from that project, I was able to find out about Cascadia, and then I ended up putting an application in, and I got here around February of 2017. So, and I've just been here ever since. So the project has technically been going since 2016, I believe, in its ideation and stuff. But really, we only really have work in terms of like the world space and everything. We're really only using stuff that was made late 2017 or early 2018. So most of the work that occurred before then was just ideation, concept art, stuff that didn't really contribute a ton towards the actual core development of the game. The main quest is not ready now. In terms of writing, I think it is, but in terms
of... a lot of stuff is like, a lot of stuff's written, but it's just implementation is an entirely other thing.
Quest implementation is towards like something you do like as part of the last thing, because you've got to create the whole world before you do all of that. There's some things you can do. You can set up initial quests and stuff, but the world development kind of needs to happen before you do a lot of the quest stuff. Otherwise, you'll just be wasting time. Yeah.
Cascadia is based in King County in
so the
Washington
main
State.
quest has not really been implemented much at all. There are some things that are implemented, but it's not really much at all.
We have dev streams, which is actually why I made sure to put that on the Twitter, because so I've been recently doing a little bit more community management stuff, and my hope is to help shout out stuff like this, because we've been working on a lot, but it's just not as immediately visible as we would possibly like it to be. So in the case of dev streams and stuff, it helps to kind of remind people that we do those, because it's not exactly intuitive if you don't know that. So yeah, no, we got dev streams. Vigge's trying to do a dev stream every day this week, actually. I don't know if he will, but he's trying.
So right now I'm just trying to build stuff you can follow in the world. You don't get completely stuck.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to make road pieces here that stick up from the... Or, what should I call this? I don't even know what it's called in English, but when it's snowy outside and it's a lot of wind. You get like
like
small hills of snow.
oh yeah, like snowdrifts and stuff.
Yeah, snow drifts. So try to make it like this, where it's like the actual road is peeking out from the ash.
Yeah. So for context, while it's not immediately clear because they're working at the CK right now, the actual weather for the Ashland is going to be like basically you'll like see like 5 feet in front of you, and that'll be about it.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So it's the reason it isn't like completely obscured right now is because it's pretty hard to level design when you can't see 5 feet in front of you. So it's, we have it turned off with the climate turned off.
I can't turn it on, like the. But this isn't even final.
It's still not the right one, right? Nope. Because we've stripped it back still. So that'll be more along the lines, but it'll be even cloudier, like, and more obscured than that. Yeah. So yeah, as far as the creatures go, we've got a few more stuff, and we've got some stuff that we're sharing from like Capital Wasteland. Like we have the floater, we have the geckos with Fallout Miami. We have they're like quadruped geckos. They're not like the Fallout New Vegas ones on 2 legs. They have 4 legs. We got a few different ones. We've also got all the creatures from the DLCs. We're using all of those too in the same world space, so that'll be interesting. And how many hours do we work on average per week? Well, it depends on who you ask, because everybody works different amounts, and there's only like probably 10 or so developers that are full-time working every day, and a lot of people are like part-time, or they'll contribute when they have time. Like maybe they'll produce one asset like every couple of months, like, so it really is it really varies.
Yeah, I mean, in my case as a writer, I'm probably putting in at least like 3 or 4 hours of work a day, if not more. So I don't know. I mean, I'm also the lead writer, so how much work I put in depends. And also, I'm in college, so I'm more able to put in a lot of work versus like people who have more responsibilities and stuff like that. So yeah, it like all volunteer projects, it's kind of people put in as much time as they can, or as much time as they're like willing to, because like if you're not, obviously like no one's getting paid, so if it's not like, if you're like, you don't want to put in work and like make yourself hate the hobby, because the hobby is kind of like the reward in this case. The fun in it is doing the work. Was not raining the cause of the Ashlands?
Yes.
Yes.
It went kablooey.
Are the followers of the apocalypse going to show up? I don't believe they do at the moment, actually. I mean, it's entirely possible we'll have like a follower or 2 somewhere, but generally speaking, we're trying to stick to more original factions than factions from other games. Do you even use the quantum creatures from Nuka World? I don't believe we're going to use those, but those are just texture swap kind of variants anyways, so they're less useful. But yeah, our general philosophy is we're not like not acknowledging old games, but we don't want to like lean too much on them as a crutch, kind of, because when you start doing that, you start kind of either getting into sort of like a fan fiction-y feeling territory, or stuff like that. Will there be vehicles? No, not really.
There will not be usable vehicles now.
Yeah, because the basically like the max speed you can like go out at Fallout 4 without it starting to like have to load in assets as you're moving is like max sprint speed, pretty much. Yeah. So anything faster than that breaks.
We really don't have anybody that can pull that off, and the engine is not really able to do it in the same way that Fallout New Vegas's engine is. Just because of like the loading times and how things are read. So, and we just really aren't interested in designing our world around vehicles, because that requires a lot of effort as well to actually make the world usable for vehicles. And yeah, we can't give an answer on how close we are to finishing. It just doesn't. With a volunteer project, it's just you can't gauge it. We kind of finish when we finish.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I can say that progress is going well, but
yeah, progress is going well, and it usually is. But yeah, it's hard. We can't really give you an estimate or an idea of when.
We also
Hopefully before. The main thing that I can say is that we're hoping to get it done before the next Fallout game comes out. That's like the main thing. Like, as long as we can do that, I think we're pretty okay.
Yeah. There goes. Oh, what minor factions are there? There's a lot. We're trying not to like play every single card we have like right now, especially. So like there's a number of minor factions, but we don't want to like say which every single one of them are and like here's their name, here's what they look like, etc. Because then it sort of gets to a point where there's nothing new to experience when you actually get to playing the mod. Will the Puget Sound fairies be an aspect of the game? I believe we have one of like the more famous fairies, don't we?
Yeah.
Or yeah. I don't believe they're going to be functional, but we'll have them. Will we have horses? Probably not. Well, we might have something in that vein, but not like actual horses.
We're not going to give it away if we are.
Yes. Yes.
We're not going to spoil it, because it would be a big spoiler.
Is the Brotherhood in the game?
No, not really.
There's references to the Brotherhood of Steel. The Brotherhood is not actually in the game itself, though. That's just because we didn't see there's not like in terms of how the story is set up, there wouldn't have been a good place for them anyways, and it would have just been having them to have them, which is something we always consider when it's bringing back an old faction versus doing something more unique or original. Are we having them because they make sense, or are we having them just to have them? How powerful is the Republic of Cascadia? Oh, they're fairly powerful. They have like a sort of industrialized city as their main that's Cascade is their sort of main base of operations. Their main issue is sort of internal strife, corruption, and also that like while they have Cascade, they don't have a ton of other territories sort of built up out in the Pacific Wasteland, so they're sort of like stuck in a sense. Will Raiders have different weapons? We're actually replacing pipe guns as they are with some other guns that are sort of in the same style, but more less like rusty looking and like having like a block of wood. Let's see. So if you imagine running to a fan of your mod in 10 years, what do you want them to tell you? I mean, hopefully they like enjoyed the way that the story plays out, that the world looks, hopefully they think that it felt different from like other Fallout games. From a gameplay standpoint, more linear and combat focused, or it's more open and choice driven. Definitely, that's more fun to write. If I'm going to be honest, it's not really fun to write a billion quests where it's just go here, kill somebody. Will this Cascade have slaves? No. So Cascadia is like a city-state with surrounding towns. That's more or less correct. Yeah. They have Cascade as their like capital, and then they control like a few other towns such as Bridgetown, but it's not really like the same. Like Bridgetown is more they're there because they have to be there, whereas Cascade is sort of where they focus their attention. Will it tan you from Fallout 1 and 2? I don't believe so. We don't have really a cause to. There will be vaults, yes. But yeah, there's not like... I mean, the NCR is present as a minor faction within the mod, but there's not really a whole reason to like go into the NCR's history again. Because everyone has heard the NCR's history. So... What was Kent before the NCR came? It was like a small settlement. Like I believe there would have been some people living there, but not as many, just because it's kind of out of the way.
So The main city is Cascade, and it's several order of magnitude bigger than Diamond City. So yeah, it's
Oh yeah, it's huge. Will
quite
Pike
a
Place
lot
make an
bigger.
appearance? Yes, Pike Place does make an appearance as Pike's Place, which is still a market, just a lot shadier and a lot less fish. Yeah,
Yeah, and
we can.
it is
So
actually called Pike's Place.
yeah. Yeah, so for the size of Cascade, we were able to like make it as big as we can, because of the fact that so for Diamond City, you can see all of Diamond City at pretty much any point in Diamond City, whereas for Cascade, it's there's less elevation going on and it's more circular, so we can sort of use more tricks to hide stuff, which allows us to make it more dense because you're not loading the entire city at the entire time. How long have we been working on this? Since like late 2017 has been like when most of the current progress has been done. I've been working on the project since either 2017 or 2018, one of those two. And so most of us have been working on this project for a while. How big is the Cascadia map relative? It's about 2 times the size of Fallout 4, with about the same density as Fallout 4 in the sense that we have like the same number of locations, which then means there's more space between locations. I saw way back a town in the woods in the middle of the forest. That would probably be either, let's see, there's Ren Fair, which is out in the woods. There's Kent, which is, I don't know, kind of in the woods. I don't know. Will there be interior loading screens then? For Cascade? No, it's all... So basically, Cascade is all one world space, which means that there won't be any loading screens aside from like going into buildings and stuff. We're not going to have to New Vegas fence it, hopefully.
No, the main thing is that it's going to be designed a lot differently than Diamond City. It's not going to be a giant cone where everything is rendered at the same time. So that's why we allow it. That's how we can have it be bigger and not have it be an issue. You won't be able to see the whole thing at one time. You have to actually traverse it.
What are y'all excited most about with Cascadia? I mean, I'm excited to see my quests and stuff kind of actually in game. That'll be a wonderful experience, I think.
I always like seeing the custom assets that we make being used in level design. I always think that's really cool to actually see them be populated around the world. Everybody would give you a different answer for that one.
Mm-hmm.
We work on it whenever we can, and like everybody works on it at different rates. So that's really, it's the answer for that question is all over the place because everybody does different. Me personally, I work on it full time. I work on it every day, but other people don't. So there's a good few of us that work on it every day. There's many more people that work on it part time. And then there's people that work on it just like every once in a blue moon. But we appreciate all the work because it's all, I mean, it's free.
Mm-hmm.
It's free work. We have to get here. We can't be,
Yeah.
we don't pay anybody to work on anything.
Has COVID allowed for more time on the project or less? It depends. I mean,
It's a mixed bag.
In my case, I was already a student, so I didn't like really gain a lot of time because of it. Because I mean, I was still had like classes and stuff. So yeah, it entirely depends. I would say, honestly, I think probably
some people have more, some people have less.
It didn't really give us a lot more time. Yeah, but we used the same music from Fallout 4 for the radio. Yes, for the most part. I mean, I would love to possibly, for example, collaborate with some musicians in Seattle for like more kind of grunge station or something like that. But for like the actual like soundtrack of like walking around the world and stuff, no, we're gonna have our own soundtrack. So like, there won't be.
We will have some. We will have some of the Fallout 4 music in the ambience, but it's going to only be ones that fit the world space. So you're not going to have any of that, like, you're not going to have any of that colonial Boston-y sounding music with like I don't even know what instrument it is, some kind of like accordion thing. We're not having that. I don't know. I don't know a ton about music, but we're not going to have that colonial sound and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, as it was said in the YouTube chat, there isn't a way to access the Pacific Wasteland from Boston because it's essentially a new game, and there's no clean way to kind of merge the story elements, the gameplay elements, etc. with like Fallout 4. So we're just kind of like writing over it.
It's a brand new game. You'll start a
Yes.
brand new character. There will be no way to go in between. There will be no Boston. It replaces Fallout 4.
Yes.
And the nuke, there was a detonation in Bellevue. That's the main one where Ground Zero is at. Pretty sure there are other ones and there are various duds that are placed around, but
yeah.
I would assume not for the standalones. After release, maybe, but I would err on the side of probably not.
Yeah.
Because that takes, a good amount of time to repair and all of that kind of stuff, and it doesn't really make a ton of sense. We're here to make Cascadia. We're not here to make standalone mods. The whole point has always been to make the project.
Yeah. A sinkhole is actually not a crater. It's a sinkhole. Like a house. Basically like a massive sinkhole. Hence the name. Will the Children of Adam play a big part? Not a big part. There is a small presence from the Children of Adam because they're a fun faction to write for, but that's pretty much it. As a Fallout 4 as a whole, we're part of what we're trying to do is bring more like writing elements into Fallout 4 because Fallout 4's story is unfortunately very restrictive in what the player can like interact with, because of the fact that it's locked to 4 choices only and they all have to be voiced and they can't then have like checks and stuff like that. So we can be a lot more like sort of freeform with the writing and have more choicey quests. It's like the New California did. Not really, because we can't really send you back into the Boston world space because of how we're changing up gameplay systems and stuff.
We don't want to either. Like, we just don't want to.
Yeah, it's a lot of work for something that isn't even like integrated into the story.
It doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense. A totally different timeline. Like, it makes no sense.
Yes. Will there be multiple endings? Yes. There is fast travel. There's survival mode where there isn't fast travel, but there is fast travel otherwise.
We don't really hire anybody, but we are recruit. Yeah. I'm sure we will be opening up writing recruitment soon. I think we're gonna have an application form soon, so keep an eye out for that on our website and our Discord server.
Yep.
Yeah, there will be fast travel if you play on the normal difficulties. If you play on survival, there won't be, but that'll be your choice, just like Fallout 4.
And we'll have some sort of like alternative methods of travel for survival mode, like vertibirds. Probably, I think this is still planned. Some access to the monorail system in like downtown Seattle, so like you can kind of get from point A to point beyond that. Fun stuff like that.
If you're looking for what we said on the Frontier, just check the pinned messages on questions and answers on our Discord server.
Yeah. Are there vehicles? No.
Not that you can drive.
Yeah.
No, there will be no drivable vehicle. There will be we have the vertibirds. Anything that was in Fallout 4 will have, but not anything other than that.
Is there a possibility that people could mod this?
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah. Part of the issue is that basically there's a record limit in the CK. So to get around that, we had to go back and strip some of the ESMs for base Fallout 4 stuff. So for modding, you would have to have access to those ESMs, which might get like a little bit dicey because that's like redistributing game assets.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we won't be able to hand that out, so that'll be on your part.
We'll figure out something if we can.
There'll be some solution for it, and Yeah, anybody can freely mod Cascadia. I mean,
Yeah,
but
it's
you you'll have to wait until after it's released to do so. So
Mm,
it needs to get done first before you worry about that.
yeah. Favorite faction in the previous games? I don't know. I mean, Riley's Rangers are pretty cool. There's not a lot to them, but they have like an interesting look. When you're creating a scene, you take inspiration from somewhere. It depends. Like for a lot of the highway layout and stuff, we try and go true to life. But for like more kind of out there settings, like the Ashlands, it's kind of more freeform. They're going to be original radio. Yes. Yes. There's not like a release date or.
There's no release date, only a hope and a dream that we will release before the next Fallout game comes out.
Pretty much. Will this include assets? We've used some assets from other weapon mods, yes, but mostly it's just kind of where it makes like sense to, and even in some cases, like what we might do is like either use the weapon as an inspiration or something like that versus just straight up using it as is. Yeah, Flen gave the more sort of detailed answer on the farm limit issues.
So whenever we take stuff from the Nexus, we always look into like quality assurance and making sure everything that we bring in is either, you know, checked or modified to be fitting of everything else. So we really try and we're very picky about stuff we take from the Nexus. But we do have plenty. We do have plenty of stuff that we make use of. Yeah, it's really about art style and, you know, whether or not they're good quality or not. You know, we're obviously not going to bring it in like modern, like, you know, M4s and like crazy stuff. Like, we're not doing that. It needs to make sense in Fallout. You know, we're making a Fallout game here. We're not really making a mod pack.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, yeah, generally, like, you have to look at things from sort of the perspective of, like, if we were making a game, what would we do versus just, like, well, this would be cool because we're making a mod, kind of.
Yeah.
So that comes down to, like, what you do in your story, what you do with your environments, all that stuff. Yeah, I mean, the other issue with, like, a lot of modern weapon packs is that they're not, like, custom models. They're, like, models from other games or, like, models from Sketchfab or something like that have been ported into the game. So they already weren't made for the art style of Fallout anyways. So Bethesda made any statements. I mean, we've had contact with Bethesda some, mostly just to ask some questions about stuff. So like they know about the project, and we've like talked to like some of their like
they know, but there's no
yes.
like official statements because it's just not really needed.
Yeah. Will Zayt and Alien show up as an Easter egg? Possibly. I don't know. What made you want to decide? I mean, so most of us, I don't believe, were involved in founding the project. So pretty much someone decided that they wanted to do a project in Seattle, and then we kind of all ended up on it as well. I don't know. I think it's a cool environment for a Fallout game. It allows for a kind of more fleshful setting than like other areas, and it already has some like interesting architecture, like the Space Needle, for instance. And you know, it's kind of a nice out of the way setting for a Fallout game because while it's on the West Coast, it's not like in the immediate vicinity of the NCR and stuff. Will there be a legendary weapon system? No. We're probably going to use some of the same effects, not all of them, but we're not going to have the same sort of random loot gain type stuff with like legendary enemies and everything from Fallout 4, just because we kind of want to go back to a more unique based progression system.
As far as the real life politics, not really, but there will be like, I guess you could say, themes that exist in real life as well. Like the core conflict of the game is freedom versus security, So like, would you rather be, you know, free or safe? So there's kind of that, but it's going to be very like in the Fallout world, in the Fallout setting. There's not going to be any real life modern ties to modern society in any way. That would be just kind of weird
Yeah.
to do.
Yeah,
So
because I mean, like, Fallout is like a game about nuclear war. So nuclear war in itself kind of like a
Yeah.
thing that like is like a, you know. So yeah, we're not like trying to like make a point like about a specific political party or anything like that, but there's definitely like some ideas about ideology and all that kind of stuff, because that's just kind of the consequence of making a game like Fallout. Like,
and that's
New
how it's
Vegas
always
doesn't-
been. There's always
Yeah.
been that in Fallout. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are working all in the same world space. We use version control to sort of avoid conflicts when people work together. So yeah, we have a bunch of developers working in the same world space, but it's done in a way that avoids conflict with like each other's files and records and changes and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I just wonder was like a Ashland texture for the guardrails, but I guess not.
No. You know what that means, Saber.
One day. Gotta wait till we had the final Ashlands texture.
That's true, yeah. Such a...
It's all about prioritizing and just you kind of have to put off stuff that's easy to change, because there's stuff that's not easy to change that needs to be done now. And stuff that we can go buy and swap later, like that. Yeah, it might be a different base record if there is one, rather than a map swap. Could be that. I think also like a lot of level designers make that stuff on their own rather than me having to go in there and put it there. I think like Lev has made some stuff and somebody else has made stuff.
Will there be a rock radio station? No. Like I said, I would be interested in possibly like seeing if anyone in the Seattle area has like some songs they'd be willing to, I don't know, donate to the project. But even in that case, it'll be kind of more like acoustic-y, sort of unplugged versus like.
We're trying to get stuff that really fits within the setting, so we're not going to do anything like beyond the scope of Fallout.
Yeah. So even if it's like post-war and kind of different, it's still like more Fallout than not. What's driving you guys to make this? I mean, in my case, it's both like I like working on the project. I don't know. It is good to like get experience. I think in terms of game development, a project like this on the size of it.
A lot of people do it for different reasons. You get a different answer depending on who you ask. Like everybody's in it for something different.
Yeah.
Very good for experience and portfolio.
Factions, the NCR included, a little bit, but not like a ton. Will the enemies be tougher in Cascadia? I don't know. That kind of comes down to like balancing.
Yeah. It's gonna come down to balancing, and we're hoping to make the game kind of a tougher experience, but probably not in the way that you're thinking, because the problem with Fallout 4 is a lot of enemies are kind of bullet sponges, and especially that's exacerbated by the legendary system where creatures can mutate and all of a sudden have their whole health bars back. Yeah, so we're pretty much getting rid of that system, and enemies are going to be more killable, but it's going to take a little more work on your part because you're going to need to be more careful because you yourself will die more easily. So it's going to be more realistic in that sense, rather than just making enemies bullet sponges, which is not really fun to play against. You're actually going to need to use cover. You're actually going to need to hide behind stuff, otherwise you're going to die. So that's more of the difficulty that we want to strive towards, rather than bullet sponge farming like in MMOs or something weird.
Yeah. well, we have a settlement system. There will be player bases, but there won't be like building up your own town and stuff. But because, well, first, there's not like the large transient population to support that. Secondly, because it's just not really like in the interest of the game. And thirdly, because it's hard to make the game react to you having a bunch of settlements and stuff, especially within the story. So it helps. We basically just avoid that entirely by not having it. Because like it's a common problem with Fallout 4, right? People like cite like, oh, you built up your town and like all your settlers are like ungrateful. But the sort of flip side of that issue is that like to make them like react like that, you're gonna have to take away assets from somewhere else. So in our case, it just makes more sense to not do it and just have player bases and stuff instead. Some of them will be outdoors, but they're not going to be like building your own town, like all your own like vendors and doctors and stuff. Aside from Cascadia, I don't know. I'm looking forward to Capital Wasteland a lot. I think that'll be a really cool experience because New Vegas you can get a lot more like playable as is, but with Fallout 3, like you have to basically use Tale of Two Wastelands to get it playable in the first place. So seeing that in a kind of more modern engine will be exciting.
So yeah, Preston Garvey is pretty much dead by now in our timeline. So
yeah, because it's like 50 years later. So
it's probably dead by now.
Or a bunker. Yeah, there'll be like I said, like player home stuff. So will there be leaning around corners? I mean, there's a base system for that in Fallout 4. I don't know if we're going to expand on that any, because while we want it to like have a slightly more tactical difficulty, we don't want it to be like too geared towards like Stalker or Arma or something like that.
We'll have different methods of getting the game if the Nexus goes down. We'll have like Steam. We'll probably have Steam. That'll be something we look into before we release and make sure it's set up properly before release comes, and then we'll have a torrent of some kind. We'll have multiple ways to get it.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you have multiple sources of multiple download sources. And plus the Nexus free membership stuff caps your download at like really slow. So, and that's what most people will be downloading with. So it'll take forever to do that. Because I mean, by the time we're done, it's gonna be like probably over 30 gigs of stuff. Like it's gonna be a full game size to download. So you're gonna need to definitely have a better solution than just Nexus per se.
Yeah.
We might do Steam achievements if that's, if we get there, but as far as we'll have to see about like icons and stuff, that'll be like the main challenge, I think, with that. I don't know if we'll make any custom icons or anything, but we'll have I think we'll try to do that if we can.
Yeah. Could I just install this on top of Fallout 4? You could, but you'd have to start a new save and it wouldn't be compatible with past saves. So yeah. Radiation will likely work the same as it does in Fallout 4, just because the less we have to change, the better. Is the basic answer there?
Yeah. Cascadia will definitely not function with other giant mods because we essentially replace the entire game from the start. Miami is designed as a sort of a DLC for Fallout 4 where you go to Miami from the Commonwealth. We don't do that at all. You start a brand new game, it totally replaces the Commonwealth. So you just, it will not function at all.
Yeah. Do any of us do paid mod requests? I don't know. I mean, I don't believe I don't.
Where?
I write.
Wait,
what?
Where's
in
that
YouTube chat? Do any of you talented authors do paid mod requests?
No, we don't.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, yeah.
Not for Cascadia. Yeah, and not for Cascadia. I'm sure you can find some out there that will do it, like on the Nexus and stuff. You can private message them, but we really don't want anybody from Cascadia getting DMs about that, because that's kind of a solicitation type thing. So we don't want to do that.
Will equipment deteriorate? Yes. Any plans for updates after mod releases besides bug fixes, such as content or new quests? likely not, because the only case in which you'd be implementing new content is content we couldn't get like fixed and ready in time for whatever release we had, which shouldn't be a problem because we're not planning to really announce release until we're sure we have a good window for it.
So probably not until we're done, and then we'll see.
Yes.
As far as new content, so feature creep, is it an issue? Not really. Simply because there are a lot of features that we just don't really that are like core features that we just don't have set up yet and fully going. So I don't think it's been an issue. We try to limit things as much as possible and try and keep things within a reasonable scope. That's always been a thing we've been really like really trying to do. So
yeah. So the red stuff is vertex paint, which you use to mark down. Like, so for vertex paint is basically a feature in the CK where like you throw some paint onto the world space for like later, like marking out stuff. And so in this case, yeah, Vigge's using it to figure out where the road would be. Is Olympia or Tacoma in the mod? I don't think so.
no, Tacoma is not.
Yeah.
Tacoma is outside of the world space.
Yes. There will be a skill system, yes. Yeah, because we're only doing like King County more or less, so nothing outside of that will be in the game. It might get referenced, but it's not going to be like physically present in the game.
Right. If it's we do most of King County. If it's, I'm sure there's a lot in King County that won't be there, but most of it will be. If it's actually just not in King County, then it will not be there definitely.
Yeah. Do we have any plans? Do we have any plans for press releases in the near future, or did I? This one, I don't know. I'm planning to step up our social media stuff this year. Whether or not that includes press releases depends. But we'll say stuff when we have stuff to say. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, we'll put out updates when we have them, but we're not gonna like purposefully, like, we have some things in the works for like different things, but you'll see those when they're there.
Yes.
What we have is what we got. And we certainly, like, one of the things, we don't like to show off everything, and there's a lot of things that we want to keep, you know, kind of for you to experience the first time in the game. We could show off, you know, everything that we have so far, but that's not really what a game does when they are working on it. They kind of, you keep stuff, you don't show everything because then it spoils the experience later. But no, there'll definitely be more like trailer stuff coming down the road in the future, but more trailers, more like screenshots and updates and different things.
Yeah. Ghoul hordes with the pack mentality. I mean, we'll have ghouls. I don't know, like,
we have the Capital Wasteland ghouls too, as well.
Yeah, but like touching up an AI and stuff, we might like, we'll make changes if we have to. But there's, to some extent, it's you work with what you got, especially when it comes to like more technical stuff, because you don't want to change something and have that break horribly and then have to, like, you know, undo it, or try and change something and waste hours on it when the end result isn't like as worth it as you would hope it would be.
As far as the AI and the behaviors and stuff, it'll be pretty much the same for most things. It's just, it comes down to how they're placed in the world more than anything, and how the level design is done. So it'll be more on account of that.
Yeah. Yeah, the hardest cap you can have on enemy AI is how good is the nav meshing and level design. Because if like they can't like move around the level well, or the level doesn't provide a lot of opportunities for them to do stuff like take cover or flank and stuff like that, then they won't feel as intelligent as they might in a better designed environment.
Yeah, we're using quite a few assets from the Capital Wasteland mod because we work closely with them. We're using but we only use them where they kind of make sense. Like we are using the super mutants, the ghouls. We're using the floaters, the floater creature. We had planned to make a floater anyway, but they ended up making one. So we're like, okay, we'll just use that one instead, save time.
Actually, so for super mutants, we're actually part of what we're doing is we have a settlement called the University, which is only super mutants. We're not having them as like an enemy in the world otherwise, but it's actually a mix of like super mutants from different areas of America. So something nice we can do is actually have a variety of like models and textures there, because they're not all from like the same like like they're not all California super mutants. They're not all Vault 87 super mutants, etc. How dedicated are we? Performance optimization. When we get to a point where we're optimizing, we'll do what we can. If I remember correctly, downtown Boston is like uniquely weird in terms of its optimization. Like it wasn't even properly optimized when it was, so we'll do what we can there.
Yeah, you can make whatever mods you want when it's released.
Yes.
But when it's released, pretty much, yeah.
And if you're good at making mods, like level design and other things, you can apply for the project.
You can apply to the team, yes.
Yeah.
Yep, there will be a super mutant behemoth. Yep.
Yes, a behemoth, but that's pretty much the extent of it. Because what we want to do with mutants is sort of like portray them as mostly a like actual people, kind of, instead of just enemies. Centaurs, mutant hounds are both.
We're not gonna have centaurs at all, because that doesn't make sense for our super mutants. Like, not to spoil too much, but they won't have centaurs.
Yeah, they would.
The mutant hounds maybe, but they're not gonna be like an enemy you find in the world.
Yeah, if there's like a mutant hound, it'll be like a mutant hound.
Yeah.
Yeah, with like a name and shit.
Yeah, the red leaf flag, no, not really, but it'll probably be pretty similar to the Canadian flag, but like a little different.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be too, wild or anything.
Yeah, the behemoth would be at the university, which is more of a town or like a settlement than a city. It's because it's set at Washington University, which we're calling Rainier University, Rainier, whatever. So it's like a settlement. There's not like a ton of mutants there. It's like, I don't know, 30 or so mutants in total.
It's like sort of it's kind of the same idea as Jacobstown, but different.
Yes. Just with like more characters you can talk to, kind of, because Jacobstown had like a few characters you could talk to, but we're planning to kind of have more.
The centaurs don't make sense for the super mutants that we have, so there will be no centaurs. Yeah,
because these are mutants trying to kind of just like live a quiet life. So if they had they would be more likely to kill a centaur out of like mercy than like
these aren't mutants that are going around pillaging villages and like putting people in bags and stuff. No.
Yeah. So if we had a mutant hound, it would be like from some of the mutants that have come from like the East Coast. It wouldn't be from like the West Coast. But I don't know. That's kind of a thing of like, does it make sense too, and what does it like add to the ambiance? Because I don't know. I think mutant hounds can be kind of interesting, but it's sort of a question of if we need it. So is there like a marker type? Yeah, there's like a leader. I mean, but it's like in terms of like it's like a settlement, so there's not like a mayor per se or anything like that, but there's like a person who's marginally in charge of stuff.
Yeah, you're not really gonna find flesh bags unless it's like raiders doing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because we do have some pretty vicious raider groups, so that
It won't
like
be
they'll
Supermans. Yeah.
yes, yeah. Because we still like want to make use of those assets, but we just don't want to use them in relation to super mutants.
Because humans can be just as fucked up as Supermans.
I mean, in the case of the one group that would be using them mostly, even more so. So, yeah.
3.5 thickness.
I think we'll probably have some like dogs, like in Fallout 4. You know how you can like buy a dog from like the one guy that walks. I think it'll be more akin to that. So probably, yeah. I don't really see a reason why we wouldn't have that. There won't be like any dog meat or anything like that, but ownable dogs, yeah, probably. Well, I know Vigge mostly does the rural and landscape type areas, but I think everybody likes something different. Like some people like architecture, some people like landscape, some people like interiors. You know, it varies. You have a lot of different level designers for different things.
Yeah, and yes, there will be a number of non-feral ghouls. They're fun to write.
I mean, how great? Like it's gonna be a full game story, so pretty much what you would expect from a full game.
Yeah, because I'll give like a small estimate kind of thing. So let's see. Yeah, it's about like each main quest branch is like between like 15 to 20 quests, and the like initial part of the main quest is about 8 quests. So it'll be long, that's for sure. But that's also subject to change, everything, etc., etc. But yeah, that's like, and also like saying it'll be that number of quests doesn't really tell you anything because quests can be very simple. Yeah, it'll be like a good amount of story for each like main story branch. Probably more than you would typically find in a Fallout game, but
maybe even bigger than a standard Fallout game. I don't know.
Yeah, because it depends. Because like for example, New Vegas, what they do for a lot of their main story is they kind of I'm not going to say cheat because it's like a perfectly valid thing to do, but a lot of like the main quest beats kind of use the same side quests. Whereas for us, we have a more specific approach on like specific quests, and from there kind of like, so that in turn means that there's a lot less shared between main quests and stuff. Will we have some of the non-hostile creatures from 76? As if other projects make them, yeah. We're not specifically seeking to like make them all ourselves, but for example, Capital Wasteland made the frogs from 76 for their point lookout little thing, and so we have those frogs now. So yeah, because it's good to have some ambient creatures, definitely.
Yeah, we don't really make any more creatures ourselves in-house, but over at the Capital Wasteland, they make quite a bit of different creatures that we will make use of. So it'll depend on that. We're not really going to make any new. Our quota for creatures is pretty much good. We're not going to make any new ones, but.
My God.
One of the things you have to keep in mind is that we're not just working with the Fallout 4 creatures, we're working with all the Fallout 4 creatures and all of the DLC creatures. So, and they're all going to be in one world space altogether. So that's not something you've seen before. So we're going to have a lot of new creatures anyway, just from that.
Yeah. Well, any new insects? New? I don't believe so. We're going to be making use of all the insects that we have and all that
It's
stuff.
mostly mutant stuff. Yeah, it's mostly like we have the floaters. I guess the floaters are technically worms. So
yeah, they're flatworms or whatever.
So there you go. Yeah. So the floaters kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, part of the thing is like creature design especially is pretty difficult to do. There's not a ton of people that can do it, and then there's a lot of other bullshit regarding how you have to like set up custom creatures. So
it's mostly the implementation process of them, and actually also getting them to fit in the world space and to have like enough use out of them to justify making them in the first place.
Yeah.
We plan on having everything that fits unless it doesn't fit. So like one creature that doesn't make a whole lot of sense is like the antelopes, I think they are, from like Nuka World. I guess we do kind of have a zoo, but yeah, we'll have to see. Like and like the pre-war gorillas from the Institute. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to have, like pre-war gorillas that are technically synths, but are kind of, I guess, yeah. So we're gonna have everything we can, everything that makes sense.
So yeah, we'll have the full complement of Mirelurks, and probably we'll have the like hermit crabs and stuff too, because those are fun enemies. So
yeah,
as long as it makes like enough sense, we'll have it. Especially because in some cases, like with for example, like gulpers, like those we can use pretty easily because they're salamanders. We have swampy environments. It only really gets into an issue with like the very niche like Nuka World enemies, and even then, like we can kind of use like
there will be more plant life than past Fallout games, but as far as like the design of everything, we still have to make it feel like a Fallout game. So obviously there's not going to be as much as real life, and that also ties into like game performance as well, because we can't make things as dense as real life anyway. And the fact that as a Fallout game, it still needs to feel somewhat barren in a way, but it'll be a lot more than previous Fallout games.
Yes.
So it'll definitely feel a lot more life, living environment.
Fog crawlers, I don't know, possibly that like fog crawlers get into a point where it's like, what like does this like add anything to have it here? Because we already have like, for example, Orclaws is kind of like a tough.
It'll depend on location. It'll be locational. So like it would probably fit somewhere like Mercer Island because it's a very foggy, like radioactive place.
Yes.
I mean, it's not. It is kind of, just to like vocalize it. Sometimes it can kind of make you think about things a little differently when you say it. Sometimes, like when you answer questions and stuff. But it's just something to talk about while we're working on stuff on the side. There are a lot of weapons that we have, but like notable ones like the uniques, like the wizard. We have H&H tools now gun that we use. I mean, we finished quite a few different weapons, but they're just cool, unique stuff to add. Nothing too much to talk about regarding them.
Yeah. I mean, so one example would be we have this Morningstar weapon that was set up. I'll link the art station for it real quick. In both chats. So that's like one of the more finished weapons that we have, which is like for a lot of like more specific weapons and stuff, we just kind of use Nexus and stuff like that, because making a bunch of guns isn't really something we necessarily need to do. Do we have any plans for Hope Island State Park? I don't know. If it's not in King County, it's not in the game. So if that's not in King County, then it's not there.
Let's just go back to the normal weather. I can't see with the Ashlands one.
No, we'll have special weathers. The one point to make is that we're removing rad storms, so you won't have that anymore. No, crappy green rad storms. For the color palette for the weather, we're using kind of like a Far Harbor type color palette, but it'll be not like completely fogged out all the time. There will still be fog, but it'll be like standard, like Commonwealth type fog. But the color palette will be much different than Fallout 4. It'll be less bright and sunny. It'll be more like more cool and kind of drab, like the real Pacific Northwest is. You can actually go to Mount Rainier, though. Mount Rainier is in the distance. You can't actually go there. You can go to, like, the place that was destroyed by it, which is the Ashlands, but, yeah, it's quite a way away from the Ashlands. I know that Covington is the one place in the Ashlands, the one town there.
Let's see. Did we answer the cat question yet? Because
we have mountains that you can climb, but not that one. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. No, the thing with cats is like, New Vegas is like, hey, Mr. House is like, oh yeah, they're extinct, but also Mr. House, like, canonically has very little idea what's going on outside of like his base, so it's kind of, it is what it is. If they're extinct in the Mojave, that doesn't mean they're extinct everywhere, especially not like in places where cats would probably do better as a species. Well, those eight in Big Cascadian only. No, that will not happen. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to let you down with like this, but there won't be a bunch of teenagers with attitude fighting off aliens. I really wanted to push for that, but I kept getting shot down on it, so it won't be happening. feels like a. I mean, there will be like gay characters and stuff. Yeah, it's not like we're trying to avoid that. That's because I mean, even fucking like Fallout 2, for instance, had kind of like some of the first instances of like same-sex stuff in video games, which is interesting to think about because like there's, but like I mean, there's like The Sims and stuff, but like we're not like trying to go out our way to be homophobic or some bullshit like that because it doesn't really make sense to try and do that. And I mean, Fallout, one of the original creators of Fallout was like a gay guy, so. Will there be romance arcs in the game? Like, yeah, kinda. It won't be like as basic as Fallout 4. It's kind of like you do stuff the companion likes that you did the stuff. You like tell them, let's bang, okay, and then you do that. Um, it'll be a little bit more nuanced than that.
Yeah, there's the ROC power armor, which I just got finished working on.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Then
no,
we have the ROC power armor. We have the night. We'll have like some kind of night type power armor.
Yeah.
And then any other ones we'll have to see. I don't quite know yet. We'll have to see after those are done.
Yeah, well, we might have some like variations on power armor, but like not like new and like entirely new power armor per se.
Yeah, you'll definitely get like paint skins. Like I know the T51 armor is gonna need like an NCR paint job, so we'll have like that kind of stuff going.
Yes,
because the NCR has a few sets of T51 power armor that they use.
Any cool sets of the next question? Are there certain creatures that are only seen in certain areas? Yes, we're very much focusing on that kind of like regionality to where you encounter various enemies.
The ore claws will be pretty much near the coast, near like the water and stuff. They won't really like go inland too far. I don't think we'll have Hellfire armor.
Yeah, that would be kind of a stretch.
Yeah.
And I know there's like mods for
and there's no Enclave. There's no Enclave, so there's no Enclave Hellfire armor. Yeah.
Yes.
It would have to have some basis in like, or even if it's vague, in like a pre-war like government power armor. Like the Enclave is not really there. So
yeah.
As far as the we also have the creekers, which have different biome variations. So we have like the ash creekers, which are in the ashlands. We have like swamp creekers. We have the standard creeker. We have a glowing creeker. So we have different variations just for those. So.
Is there going to be something akin to the faction reputation system? Yes. It'll be largely the same. Hopefully we can do some more interesting gameplay stuff with it, whether that's like forcing the player to disguise to like get into certain areas, or the player having to disguise to like nullify having other bad reputation. So not just like disguising as a faction, but disguising as someone that isn't you, so then you can interact with various factions because you already like fucked them over sometimes. So stuff like that. We'll use it how we can, because it is like an interesting system, but we do want to make sure it's more than just a gauge of like how much have you helped out this group, because that doesn't really, at that point, like you don't even need reputation for that. You can just use like various scripts and stuff, but we will have it and we'll hopefully use it well. Will there be Gauss miniguns? Not at this time. I don't know, if someone makes a good mod for it and we want to use it, maybe, but we're not planning to use that on it we're not planning to like copy that for our own needs per se.
There probably won't be a Gauss minigun specifically, but there will be a lot of other stuff. It all depends on if we can find like a good model for it that makes sense. We're not like that's. I don't know if there is really a good one that we can get perms for that one specifically, but we'll see. There'll be a lot of cool guns, but the Gauss minigun is one of those things that is kind of a little unbalanced in a way.
Oh yeah. you know, it's I personally I really like how like the Gauss minigun like looks and feels in 76, but yeah, no, it would be. I'm not really sure what would like necessitate it unless it's aside from like really heavy end game stuff, and because of how
Yeah.
we're like differently balancing, like we're not going to have like all the guns.
It could
we're
be,
gonna
yeah,
have
yeah. The only
categories.
place I see it fitting would be like a very end game item,
Yeah,
but we're not gonna like custom make that if we can't find a
yeah.
good for that specifically though. There are
Is it
other
just
stuff we have for
going
sure
to be
though.
human? Or are you going to add ghouls? They're going to be human. So even the issue of like just having a ghoul choice is then you have to like for most quests you're going to need like two variations on them. You're going to need a lot of dialogue variation, and we're already having to like write a lot. So it basically like it would take way more effort than we could feasibly muster. We have to like keep in mind, oh, the player can be a ghoul or not a ghoul in like every single quest, which means that then every quest needs a lot more variation. So yeah, and then Super Mitten just flat out no, because animations wouldn't work properly. There's even more of a story problem there, and also the Super Mittens just don't have the same range of like equipable items. So yeah, it would be I would love to have like more sort of in-depth options, but the engine would have to like have some more features, and we'd have to have like a larger writing team, and I'd have to get paid if we were going to have that much variety for quests. So you see some of the weapons from Fallout 1 and 2. I don't think any like in particular, especially for 2, which kind of had the most like sort of I would say generously unique weapon selection compared to other Fallout games. So like guns that have been like in every Fallout game, like the 10mm pistol and stuff will be there, but we're not like
There's a
specifically
handful, yeah. There's a handful that we've gotten permissions for like, but we're not making any custom, you know. We're trying to focus more on like unique weapons and weapons that feel unique to the game rather than like just rehashing and reusing stuff that's already been explored, because it's no fun to just have the same weapons over and over again.
Yeah, those seem to be positive. There is something very large that is Canadian themed in the mod. Yes, if you want to check out on our website, there's details about the Red Leafs, or sort of this opposition guerrilla like faction to the ROC. Will there be a mutation system? No.
No, definitely not. No.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense in the story, and frankly 76 does a really bad job at balancing their mutation system. It's way too there's not really any like real downside to having mutations, especially if you sort of get to like more detailed stuff regarding builds in that game, so it just wouldn't make sense to have them here.
76 is just not the same type of game.
Yeah, it's the most gamey Fallout, for better or for worse, whereas we're trying to present sort of more serious product. Because I mean, like, it's fine to have kind of a more gamey, fun game, but we're trying to like focus less on like players having to figure out, okay, here's like my build, I need to like get this specific item and stuff like that, and more thinking about like their story and stuff like that.
More of the traditional 3D Fallout experience rather than,
you
know, that kind of change of tone that 76 had.
Yes.
There's a lot of like assets and stuff that we're taking a reference from 76 and stuff like that, but as far as game systems and mechanics, like, it's very limited. There are some cool stuff like the Tinker's Bench we recreated. We have like the mining system, although we came up with it first, and really we kind of got the idea from Skyrim, not from 76. So we have like a mining mechanic and stuff. The mod takes place in 23-29.
Yes.
So a good bit after all the Fallout games. Like, it's like a good bit after, like 40 or 50 years after Fallout 4.
Yeah. And will there be any Easter eggs related? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. We don't want to like lean too hard into nostalgia, because we're not trying to like make Fallout 1 and 2 too. We're trying to like make a game.
Trying to make our own thing. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. there be unique creatures? Yes.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, there'll be quite a few, a couple of them. There'll also be the DLC creatures, so that'll be kind of a unique thing where they'll all be in the same world space together.
No Fallout 4 references. I mean, we're not gonna ignore that Fallout 4 existed, because we don't hate Fallout 4. I mean, without Fallout 4, we wouldn't have this game. So, so there might be we're not gonna avoid talking about Boston or something like that. But also, there's not a lot of cause to talk about Boston because it's across the country and
it's very far
years.
away, and it happened. Yeah, so the events in Fallout 4 happened 40 or 50 years before our game takes place, so it's very far away, so it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and we're not really just gonna shoehorn stuff in for the sake of it. If we think of something cool that is really awesome and that makes sense, yeah, sure, we'll do it, but we're not gonna just force ourselves to come up with something that, for that.
Mm-hmm. Will there be volcanic ghouls? Probably not burning, but I don't know, probably some really ashy ghouls. Yeah,
there'll be some ashy ghouls, but we're not going to go too insane. Where it makes sense, we do the ash creakers have some type of fire type things, but it makes more sense than ghouls.
And they're already kind of more out there, so you can kind of go more out there. Whereas supermutants are effectively immortal. It depends. I mean, because you have DC and Institute supermutants that kind of get bigger as they get older, mostly. But then you also have the fucking West Coast mutants that don't. Any fourth wall breaks? not intentionally.
We're trying not to. Yeah.
Because as much as people you want to make say for example you want to have a Wild Wasteland thing for that, even it still takes people out of the game. So you don't want your game to take people out of it. You want them to sort of keep it inside of it.
We'd rather have ones that fit a lot better. In Fallout New Vegas, they had the Indiana Jones in the fridge, and that's a thing where it's, it just kind of makes sense. It kind of fits the theme of everything. And it doesn't really take you out of the game experience. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to put fourth wall breaks in intentionally.
Are you mostly working off the previous games for inspiration? I mean, generally for inspiration, we're kind of sticking to either other media or more original concepts, because you don't want to just make your games thinking about only games, because that just sort of if you want inspiration for something, you should go read a book or watch a movie or read a comic or just go outside or do more than just think about, well, this is in Fallout 1 or 2, so we want it to be in the game.
We do have lamprey floaters, so those are technically worms.
Yeah. Assume the story of the game will be largely self-contained. Yes. Very much so. It's in a way the conflict is largely ideological between the Red Leafs and the Republic of Cascadia, with you kind of in there for your own personal reasons. So it's it's not New Vegas, for instance, where there's technically some resource concerns. It's more sort of a straight up this is a fight over people's beliefs and stuff like that. So you're not gonna be going up into space to stop a guy from launching missiles in Van Buren or whatever. And it's not gonna be fucking Fallout Extreme where you go to China. So we're not. In fact, we have taken nothing from Fallout Extreme so far, and hopefully it will stay mostly that way.
I need to close my fucking window. Okay, I'm done.
How is the New Vegas? Is any New Vegas considered canon? Not really. We have basically the way we have new like stuff from New Vegas pan out is kind of like regardless of how New Vegas ends itself. Like there's some stuff that happens with like the Legion and the NCR and stuff, but it's not like it's more sort of like after whatever happens in New Vegas, then this happens. We're not like favoring a specific ending or anything like that.
Any ending could have happened, and it would still still make sense. The stuff in Cascadia, so it doesn't really matter which one. We don't define a canon ending. Some people on the team have been in Seattle. A few people on the team actually do live in Seattle, so I haven't personally, but I know our project lead has been there for a few days, I believe, and then the pandemic hasn't really affected work in general. Some people have more time, some people have less time, so it really kind of evens out. It's everybody on the project has pretty much been working remotely anyway, so that's not really a thing with us.
Personally, when things are better, I would like a chance to go to Seattle because I already have some like friends up in the Seattle anyways, but I haven't been there myself yet, though. How's the fish market coming along? Pike's Place is coming along pretty well, I believe. It's still being worked on, but it's getting to a cool place. It'll hopefully get more expansion, and at some point we'll be able to show more finished Pike's.
It looks very cool at night.
Yes, because you have like the sign and everything.
All the cool neon and stuff. Yeah. I mean, not really, no. There's not, like, it's not crazily dense, so...
Yeah, I mean, especially at the moment, it's not as dense as it could be. But, well, we're very aware that, like, performance issues may be a thing, so we're not going to try and, like, overload everything. If you can, like, run Fallout 4 comfortably at, like, medium, you should basically have no problems running Cascadia.
So optimizing it for consoles like Bethesda did for Fallout 4, but it still will be optimized as well as it can be.
Is there any mention to the Legion or to the 80s? The 80s, I don't believe so. The Legion, like a little bit, but like not like they're not like present in the mod. The Legion aren't around or anything like that. Is the ending open so we can keep playing? No. When the game ends, it like ends just because kind of it's hard to like work around the scale of the ending in terms of making the game like still like open afterwards.
So the best way you can support the project is by spreading the word about it. Like retweeting and sharing our stuff, whatever it may be. You can also, if you're skilled in any type of game development type thing that we have on our website, you can apply to the project. Or if you know somebody with those skills, you can refer them to apply to the project. Or you could even learn a new skill that we need and join the project at some point whenever you're skilled enough. But really, there's not really another way to support us. We don't take any monetary donations. We don't do any of that. So there's just work to be done and not enough people to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just a question: will there be like we'll need all DLCs? Probably. Like maybe some of the workshop DLCs we won't use assets from, but by and large we'll use all the assets we can. Is the mod based? We do not reference the Frontier, but that's for a variety of reasons. Mostly because I mean, there's some aspects of the front. This is as much as I'm going to say on the Frontier. There's some aspects of the story that don't really make sense in general, but especially what makes sense to be referenced in our mod.
Do you say about the DLCs?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
you probably
need
will
all
need
of
all of them. Yeah. Fallout 4, like Game of the Year edition or whatever the fuck, is usually it's like typically
Yeah.
on sale. It'll be on sale this like Steam Summer Sale for sure. So
We
just
recommend that you have. Yeah, we recommend that if you don't have the DLC already, you should probably get the season pass or the Game of the Year edition when it's on sale. That's
Yeah.
usually the best way to go.
Yeah.
But
'Cause
yeah,
it'll be
assume
like-
that you'll need all of them. Assume that you'll need every single DLC. That's the best way to go about it.
Yeah.
Although there might be one or two that we don't use. We don't know if we might want something from them later. So
Mhm. Because like especially like for example, we're probably not going to use any assets from like Wasteland Workshop per se, but so why mods require DLCs? Like yeah, like it's like we're using assets from them. That's primarily the thing is like we're using like unique assets from that. So
Yeah.
like for example, for Far Harbor, like a lot of the unique assets for Far Harbor we're using some of the assets from Nuka World. We're using some of the assets
the
from
creatures, the
Shaman-Tron.
weapons,
Yeah.
the armors, the weather, even. So
Yeah.
like there's a lot of different stuff we use from the DLCs that we can't just port and like say, oh well, now it doesn't require it. No, it's you have to actually own those DLCs because they are you know, Bethesda made all those assets originally, so you need to actually own them. We can't just like take them.
Would those for the like? I don't believe a standalone product on Steam would get rid of those. Because if we make a standalone for Steam, it would largely be like an installer or something like that. It wouldn't be like you
Right,
boot up. Yeah. So it would be like a better way to distribute the mod from our perspective, but it wouldn't be like we're distributing a bunch of like other bug fixes and stuff alongside it as well. But like more engine level fixes, I don't think would be incompatible with Cascadia if it's for like FPS and stuff like that, because we're already not messing around with that. So I don't see why it would change.
Yeah, we're not really including a lot of like fixes for like things that are wrong with Fallout 4 because a lot of those fixes are kind of subjective, you know. So sometimes like some things you can probably install after the fact and they'll probably work, but you'll have to see if it works or not, or if it'll require a patch depending what it is.
How many original songs are we using? We're using some. But it kind of depends. I mean, like I've said before on this stream at least, I would be interested in having some like more original music from Seattle artists if it like makes sense and fits. But we're not going to like have like a bunch of people composing like original music and stuff when we have the entire library of 4 to use. Especially because like 4 has like tons and tons and tons of songs, so we're pretty good there in most aspects. Also, 4 is like a weirdly like, I don't know, it's got a lot of songs about sex and shit for a 50s game, well, for like 50s music, but
We'll have some new ones where we can, you know, we're not gonna, but there'll be a limit. There'll be limitations to that, given, you know, copyright and all that stuff.
yeah. How long after release? So like it was said earlier,
Whenever they're able to, you know,
yeah,
they can do it right away if they want, but
yeah, because the whole record limit issue, yeah. Will there be any native? We unfortunately couldn't really find a. Well, the issue with like native stuff is you have to be kind of pretty like careful about it because as Fallout, the way that like for example Honest Arts did natives is not great because it kind of portrays these like vast groups of people that are like not like already like out living in teepees and shit. Like they have homes and like, you know, so like we don't want to, we already don't want to do that, and that's unfortunately sort of what like tribal ends up meaning in a Fallout context. Obviously there are like native tribes, like native groups in Seattle, and so like we might have like references to them, but we're not going to have like, oh, here's the Native American group, and you can tell because they're all wearing like loincloths and shit, because that's frankly offensive. And yeah, it's just kind of like, I get why people sort of like think like about it, but it kind of becomes like a lot of, I don't know, not great. Yeah, no, I mean, because even like with Honest Search trying to like make it like a mix of people, like it's like tourists and stuff as well, still didn't come off great. How the Red Leafs survive for so long? Well, okay, so basically, in a general sense for the Red Leafs, it's mostly like Hobbs kind of using the group to his own ends. Like most of the people within the Red Leafs are either from Seattle or like aren't like ancient Canadians like him. So his like sort of motivation of like, you know, resistance to American occupation and stuff has changed, obviously.
Yeah, he's a ghoul. He's a very old ghoul. That's kind of how it survived. And then the new people are mostly from the local area. They're not really from Canada or from around the time where all the bad stuff happened with Canada. But he is still living on from that time period where all that stuff happened to him. So kind of bringing that with him into the future.
So yeah, it's like a, you know, centuries long grudge type situation. Would you say that the Arroyo, I don't know, because Arroyo is weird anyways, because it like goes from 2 generations of vault dwellers to that. I mean, here's the thing. For example, like if you look into like how reservations are right now, they're not like living like entirely like traditional native lives and like, you know, all that stuff. Like, so it wouldn't make sense for groups that are ethnically like Native American to suddenly like, you know, like become like more tribal. It's just kind of, it's a difficult question to sort of navigate. I mean, Arroyo obviously it does like build up into like a giant like mega city in the end of Fallout 2, but generally speaking, I would look towards like how people like live, like, you know, as society like as it is now. Because while Fallout would sort of like the situations of the Great War and everything would like lead to kind of a lot of social changes, it wouldn't suddenly lead to like people forgetting like how to like make certain things or like build houses or shit like that. And a lot of like the, honestly, like a lot of like the resources you would need for kind of that lifestyle would be harmed anyways, especially like hunting and stuff like that. So you might have to adapt anyways. So yeah. Yeah, I mean, so I think because Fallout 2 is also in a sort of weird situation because you have like Sulik, for instance, who kind of comes off as more of a caricature than like a real person, because it's like down to like, oh look, they like put bones in their nose type sort of view on like, oh look at all these uncivilized people type stuff. Whereas what you would likely see is, even if people are living sort of like more kind of close to nature lives, which is obviously like kind of an exaggeration anyways, it wouldn't still like be exactly the same. Because like in terms of like society resetting, not every single like you know, group of people starting from nothing has started the same way. And also in the Americas, it's kind of native issue, like figuring out how like natives lived is also sort of a weird thing, because the more popular image of natives is natives after like, you know, like mass die off due to disease and other issues, because like there's like of course whole centuries in which like there wasn't like any Europeans on the North American continent, so how their society looked then probably is how it looked different than what their society was by the time it was like the 1800s or so, and it was kind of a reduction of like where people were. Yeah, no, it like yeah, for that. So let's see. Well, more natural scrap settlements and more sophisticated people. Yeah, like most like settlements would be largely like sort of pre-war. And yeah, exactly. Niles in Twitch chat put it well. We have to like be kind of like careful about that and all that stuff, because it's very easy to do it wrong, even if you're like well-meaning about it. So you don't want to like contribute to the long history of unfortunate portrayals of Native Americans and like film and movies and TV and stuff like that. Do you think the mod will come out in 3 years?
As much as I would like to give you an answer and say that it will, I can't, because I don't really know. Like, none of us really know when it will come out. We would like it to. Oh yeah, we would love for it to come out, in that amount of time. But we'll just have to see, because it's impossible. Like we just don't know, given the volunteer nature of the project and everybody just kind of chipping in when they can, and we'll have to see.
Yes, hopefully, yeah. And if you have like various skills, you can help make sure it comes out.
You can accelerate the development
exactly.
of the project if you apply to the project, or refer people to apply to the project if you know anybody with a particular skill set that we're looking for on our website.
Exactly. If there's any thought going to like small camps and stuff, maybe, I don't know if there's like a good way to do that, because I know like setting up like a bunch of small settlements and stuff kind of get funky within 4. Yeah. Honest Arts also had like a very unique issue where they wanted to do more, but then I think they were fucked by like the PS3 texture memory or something like that, into like not having as many skin textures as they had wanted to. So that's kind of like an interesting intersection of issues. And you mentioned the events in New Vegas. Not really. Like the NCR is there, but we're not like trying to make New Vegas 2, which is like what a lot of references to New Vegas would kind of create. Especially because you don't want to like have a game where it feels like it's like the problem with like say Star Wars, right, where there's like 5 people in the galaxy in terms of like who actually matters. You don't want to do that. You want to make it feel like it's its own thing. Like Fallout 4, for instance, isn't like constantly referencing Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas, and it has like a lot of its own stuff. How close they were working with Miami? Well, their lead literally does
pretty close
for us.
Pretty close.
Yes.
We definitely share assets. We share a lot of people that work on both projects. We're good friends with a lot of people on their projects, so it's a close relationship. The projects that we work with the most are Miami and Capital Wasteland.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Holding hands close.
Yeah.
Have you played like the largest map expansions? I haven't personally. The most like quest mods I ever got into for 4 was like Tales from the Commonwealth, which in my experience is pretty good. But by the time I was getting to quest mods for 4, or quest mods had come out, I was kind of already like burnt out on playing 4. I was mostly just like interested in the settlement mechanics at that point. So, which kind of how it goes. Does burnout happen a lot? Kind of depends. I mean, you definitely like need to be in the right mindset to get like work done. It doesn't help to like force yourself to do work, especially for a volunteer project, because then the quality of the work may suffer.
I think a common theme on the project for a lot of developers is switching up their tasks every now and again to avoid that. Switching up tasks, sometimes taking breaks to like, I don't know, play games or whatever it may be. We definitely don't slave away at the project all the time. Sometimes we do, but
yeah, but like you don't want to like. It's
I
already
think
like
each developer has their own methods for dealing with burnout and things they can do to work through that. But yeah, it does happen, you know.
Yeah.
But it happens with anything, really. So. We're pretty confident in terms of what we're doing, that it's going to be pretty in line with what a Fallout game, you know, has been over the years. So we're not too concerned about the modding community being very critical with us. Although I'm sure there are some things that will be criticized, but it is what it is. You know, we're not trying to avoid that. We're trying to kind of create our own thing that makes sense as a Fallout game. And, you know, if people like it, they like it. If people don't, you know, they don't. So.
Yeah. You know, I'm sure that like not everything I write is going to be like as well looked on as I think it is. Like I'm sure someone's gonna be like, "Well, what was this fucking idiot thinking about? Like, ew, this sucks."
We're taking the safe route, if that is any consolation. We're going with what's, you know, typically expected of a Fallout game. We're not like pushing the boundaries to some crazy extent. There are systems that we're bringing back. There's new things we're introducing, but it's all in line with what a Fallout game typically is.
Yeah. Any chance of like weather effects being maybe not built in? That I don't know. That's kind of a question of like when we're getting closer to the end, sort of like a thing, because what that requires is a built-up world space, and what we do not have is a fully built-up world space. A lot of the world space is done, but it's not like fully there. So integrating something like that, or considering sort of like temperature effects, would be kind of a question of, well, where are we at? And what else needs to be worked on? Because I would, for example, rather have like, I don't know, like a working, like, you know, more like an interesting like card system or something like that. Yeah, there's a lot of oversight. I mean, I'm the lead.
There is, yeah.
So I oversee the right. Yeah.
We've got a project lead that has oversight over the entire project, all the members, mostly the leads, and then the leads, you know, convene with the members and keep tabs up with them. Most of the things that the leads do is assign tasks and check for quality, because, you know, there needs to be a filter. You know, there needs to be like a narrowing down of what's acceptable, what's not, as far as quality of content goes, and what makes sense, what doesn't. Like, you know, for art specifically, you know, there's a lot of work that gets done and stuff, and I personally go through and check all of it for quality and to make sure that everything fits with what's, you know, acceptable for the art style, what's acceptable for, you know, quality of the engine and stuff that we're working with. So there's a lot of quality assurance and checks done to make sure everything fits. And that's true for every department, right? We have leads that do that for every department.
Yeah. Are we going to be doing voice acting? Probably not. If I can find like a good quiet place on campus to record lines, I wouldn't do like any fucking main voice acting for characters, but if like I could, I don't know, maybe some combat perks or something, that would be fun. Fucking, because that way, like if it's bad, it doesn't matter because they're combat perks anyways, and it's not like an important dramatic performance.
If we're good enough,
Yeah.
and we have good enough equipment.
Yes,
not everyone's going to do it. It'll
Yeah.
depend if they have a good mic or not, but yeah, we'll certainly have it open-ended to probably do it.
Yeah. There's not like an expectation, for instance, that I'm gonna like voice any of my characters or anything like that, because
we're putting more of the focus on quality of the voice rather and how much it fits the character, rather than like getting special treatment for the developers. That's why we have auditions on casting call to actually you know check if the voice is good or not, rather than just like, oh hey, this guy's on our team, so he gets special treatment and he gets to be a voice for this character, right?
Yeah. And also because like we don't want to like try and like have like Vigge like voice a super American dude. There's no offense to Vigge, but you know. And equally, like I wouldn't try and like voice an old man or anything like that, because obviously I do not have an old man's voice.
We'll just we'll put a string on the Sasquatch plushies, and when you pull it, it'll be Vigge making a bunch of like Sasquatch noises.
Yeah, that works, sure. Will there be any new non-hostile fauna? Yeah, there will be like some minor creatures and stuff. But mostly like that'll be from like if other projects do them and we can like borrow them. We'll do that. So like for instance, most recently we have like the frogs from Capital Wastelands Point Lookout expansion, and those will be non-hostile because they're frogs. What the fuck is a frog gonna do?
Well, have you seen those frogs? I don't know.
I know they're jacked to shit, Saber, but like.
Did they actually fight you in Point Lookout?
No, there weren't frogs in Point Lookout. This is like their. What they did is they pulled the frogs from like '76 in terms of design and reinterpreted them for Point Lookout.
Maybe they'll be non-hostile. I don't know yet. Are they?
Yeah.
Are they for them? Because whatever they are for them, they'll probably be the case for us. I don't know.
They're non-hostile, I believe.
Okay. If they're non-hostile for Capital Wasteland, then it'll be the same for us. But we'll have to see how they set them up. So I'm not quite sure.
Yeah.
We have the rabbits too from Far Harbor.
Oh yeah, and the chickens. Yes.
Yeah, we have rabbits and chickens and stuff. Yeah, so there'll be.
Mm-hmm. Does Cascadia have an elaborate testing cell? We have an asset test cell.
Yeah.
So, yeah, which is mostly just like all the props and stuff from the game.
I wouldn't call it particularly elaborate, but yeah, there's stuff placed around, organized in a way.
Yeah, it's more like monolithic, if anything else. Just a lot of fucking stuff. All right, well, I'm gonna actually head out now because I need to go get lunch and stuff. But I'm glad to have been here, and I hope you've enjoyed the stream so far.
Later, DSJ. I'll be sticking around until Viggy's done here.
Yeah.
And then
All right.
Answer.
See ya.
Goodbye, chat.
I'm just on autopilot right now. I'm not even talking.
Well, that's typically a good thing for development. You get a lot done that way when you get in the zone. Yes, there will be Monty Python references. I don't know about that one specifically, but we'll see. We'll see what's possible and what's not. Yeah, we'll definitely leave asset test in the game so you can find it. It'll be a cell you can go to. Just where I put all the assets at, I spawn them in and just kind of see how they look and place them around. I just leave them there so that we have like a library of stuff that the level designers can visit and look at, all placed out. And so that I can look at it multiple times the more I go there and kind of, because sometimes you don't always see problems with something the first time you put it in the game and look at it once. I don't like to look at things just once on one day when I implement something. I like to pass by it, walk by it, because different days, I'll see different things that are wrong. Kind of like a fresh new look at it the next day or something. Yeah, there'll be unique vaults for sure. Ren Fair is one of them, and we have a few other ones too that'll have like unique vault experiments and interesting stories and lore and stuff. Wouldn't really be a Fallout game without vaults, so. And vaults aren't really interesting unless you give them a unique experiment or story.
Okay, I think I'm done with the stream for the day. I'm like totally out of ideas and motivation and like energy in general. I've been doing a lot today.
Are we gonna have another one tomorrow?
Yeah, I think so, maybe. I will try. The file is 2.2 megabytes.
Kong is lame. Godzilla is. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, so
Like,
thank you for coming to the stream.
Yep. Later, everyone.